What is up, guys? It's Kelly from Muddybeards 4x4, and today I am working on my Dana 44 front axle. As some of you guys know who watch all of our videos, a couple of videos ago at when we were four-wheeling at Tahoe State Forest, I broke my axle shaft on my driver's side. Well, guys, my Dana 44 chromoly axle shaft has failed me on the hill.
What the hell are you doing that? Oh god, no. My cousin bought it.
It broke. So I don't know where to put it. A little bit too much rock bouncing. Decided to come apart. Do you have a good time up there?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you like rock bouncing?
Yeah.
You like braking?
Yeah.
You're supposed to say no. You're supposed to say no on the braking part. Rob, how do you feel your Dana 30 is going to fare on that hill?
I'm not doing that hill.
Oh,
so,
why not?
Because I don't think it would fare very well.
Oh, okay. Wheeled the whole rest of the day in two-wheel drive. Had a good time. Make sure you guys go back, check that video out, and give it a thumbs up and a like. But as I got my new axle shaft and my U-joint installed, I was not going to make a video of any of this because there's a billion videos out there of how to install a U-joint or an axle shaft or anything like that. Not super interesting. So as I was doing that, I was putting it back together and I encountered a lot of problems. One being, I noticed that my ball joints were totally chowdered. They had broken when the axle shaft broke in the U-joint and it went around. It hit the bottom of the upper ball joint and the top of the lower ball joint and really messed them up. This is the upper ball joint, and you can see it just flops around. And right here you can see where the axle shaft actually hit it. There's a big dent right here. So hopefully you'll be able to see this, but this whole thing just moves in and out. So the whole knuckle was moving around. And on the bottom, I actually had to cut the nut off at the top because the threads were so marred up that I couldn't even get the nut off. So I had to take a Sawzall and cut this whole ball joint stub shaft out, which sucked. So let me just go over the new parts that I have on this, starting with, so we got a new axle shaft, new U-joint, inner and outer axle shafts, both of them, new ball joints. Inside the spindle itself, it has the new spindle bearing and all the new seals inside of there. Those are all replaced. Oh, actually, and I replaced the bearings inside the hub here. Everything's pretty much brand new. So my problem is something is just not right. And I'm just going to kind of walk you through my diagnosis of how I'm going to try and figure out what is wrong. As I'm spinning this, I can spin it and it spins freely, and then it pretty much fully binds up. So there is something, either the rotor, the hub, spindle, something is moving, causing run out on this rotor, which is binding up in my brakes. So you can see it spins freely now, and I can look down in here and I can physically see the rotor moving back and forth. So my initial thought, it would be that my spindle is bent, right? Because everything is riding on that spindle, all of this assembly. So if that spindle is bent, then it's going to cause this rotor to not be straight anymore. So, which is why I have the dial indicator out here. Oh, let's do it on the side here. So as I'm spinning it, you can watch the 70, 80, 90, and it goes back to 60. So 30 thousandths of an inch run out on here, which is way too much. If you guys know brakes and have turned rotors before, you know that that is not acceptable. I can put it up here on my, right on the edge of my spacer here and do the same thing. So I'm at 60 again and going down to 50, 53. So we got about 12. 12 thousandths, 30 thousandths to 12 thousandths. So obviously if something is bent inside of here, the farther from the center of the source of it, the farther you go, the more run out you're going to have, the bigger the number is going to be, the more noticeable it will be. I put the spindle on the bench and as best I could measured it, and it doesn't seem to be bent. That doesn't mean it isn't bent, but it doesn't visually look bent. And on a flat surface, I measured all the way around it to a flat surface, and it's absolutely identical all the way around. So it doesn't seem to be bent. So the next thing, I was replacing the bearings inside this hub, and I noticed when I was replacing the races, usually you have to pound them out from the backside to get them to come out. So when I was putting the new races in, they basically fell inside. And I didn't have to put them in with this guy right here. I didn't have to pound them in. They just actually fell in, which was another clue that, okay, maybe that's not the way it's supposed to be, which is not. It should be a press fit into the hub assembly. Where the races fit inside this hub, they are pitted out and are just in terrible condition, have big old pits inside of it, and pretty much, I would say, unusable. Once you get that pressure on it and it's spinning high speeds, that race is just going to spin inside the hub, causing heat. And this side, I actually remember in the past years ago that the nuts that actually hold the bearings and everything inside here would always come loose on this side, and I'd always have to tighten it down. And every 2 or 3 trips I'd have to tighten it down, especially if I was driving on the road, which makes sense now why that was happening, because the races were actually spinning, probably not all the time, but some of the time inside this hub, causing heat and causing things to kind of move around when they shouldn't be moving around. So what I'm going to do now is I actually have a brand new rotor and hub assembly that came with races that I just got yesterday from Summit Racing. It was actually cheaper at Summit Racing to buy the whole hub and the rotor together. I believe it was about $95 for the rotor, the hub, with the races installed. The hub is toast. I got to replace that no matter what. If I bought it separately, the hub is about $85 just by itself, and the rotor is about $50, $45 by itself. And then I got to replace the studs here. Buying it all together, it actually saved me like $50. I replaced all of this with a new rotor, new hub, new bearings, new everything, put it on the spindle, and I still have that 30 thousandths to run out. There's literally nothing else that it could be than a bent spindle. I've gone through every piece of this, made sure that it's sitting flat and flush and clean, and there's no mud or dirt or anything in there. So I know that the spindle is bent somehow, and I can't even see it. So I did buy a new spindle. It's a GXL spindle. I bought it on Amazon. It was $89. So we'll see what the quality is. I haven't even opened it yet. It arrived today, and it looks like it came from India. I don't really know much about them, but they sell a lot of axle parts and a lot of other things because I went to their website and checked it out. So if I wanted to get a spindle for this, a used replacement one that's off of 1970s, is like $80, $90, $100, $120. I've seen them up to that much. And I don't want to go to a junkyard and just get one off because it might be bent, it might be bad as well. It could be pitted out and rusted, and I just don't want to deal with it. So G2 makes one. They're like $120. Yukon makes one that's like $200. And I found this one. There's a couple other ones like on eBay that are about $90 a piece. But I found this one. It was actually on Amazon, so I figured if I didn't need it, it would be easier to return. But now that I see that it came from India, I don't know how easy it will be to return, even from Amazon. I don't know. So even if I don't need it, I'll probably just keep it as a spare, just in case this happens again. So let's pull this apart, show you the inside of it and what I've done so far to figure out what's going on. And I will assemble the new hub, rotor, all of that, new bearings, and put it on the old spindle and see if that fixes my problem. it's not supposed to do that. And also you may notice here that there's actually shims behind this race as well that moves this hub slightly out from the brakes. I think I'm going to start with no shims and put these aside and use them if the brakes don't line up and it rubs. In here where the bearing is wearing, I can feel and see marks there. These are possibly original from 1970s when this axle came out. And you can always tell the first one you're supposed to put in, it's got the little tab here that sticks out that's gonna align with this center locking pin. Especially with new bearings, you want to seat those bearings. So what you're going to do is you're going to spin it, tighten it down as it's spinning, kind of seat it. And I like to get it over tight, too tight. It still spins pretty freely, but I know that it's too tight just based on feel because I've done this so much. And then I back it off until it's pretty much just hand tight, just loose. And that's where I'm going to keep it for now. Spins freely, although it's not loose at all. It's still tight. And once I put this locking ring on here and this outer one, when you torque it down, it always tightens up just a little bit, not a lot, so you get it a tiny bit looser than where you feel you want it to be. That's just what I've learned over the years, that if I get it exactly where I want it, then I tighten down that last nut, it's too tight. And I don't like it, I'm not comfortable with it. So just a little bit less tight than you want it, and then when you torque down that last one, it'll get you where you want to be. So I'm at 40 now, and I have 1/1000. It's nothing. This is great news because I know my spindle is not bent and that something inside my hub was bad. So that little tab that I was talking about, you can flip this either way. So if you can't get this on, and you got to make sure that that little tab is in one of these holes. If it's not, it's going to come loose. You're going to pinch that tab. It's going to break. It's going to cause a lot of problems. So make sure, 100% sure that is inside one of these little holes. If not, take it out, flip it over, and if it's still not, just tighten it down just a tiny little bit, enough to get it to line up. Now I can feel it's not on one of those, not on the tab here. You're gonna edit this out, right? Okay, good job. Oh, battery's almost dead. We gotta get this done quick. I gotta change the battery. At least gotta get this done before the battery dies. Okay. The tiniest little bit here. Hopefully we'll do it. This is literally the most trouble I've ever had on this, doing one of these. I swear, this never happens to me. Okay. Woo! Got it. Okay. You can edit that out, right? Make it look like I just did it really fast. Sweet. Okay, so on this outer one, I'm of the group that you can tighten this thing down as tight as you want, within reason. With this guy right here, you don't want to use this guy right here. Like, that's a little excessive. So I've never had one fail when I've done it this way. Just tighten it down as tight as you can get it with that 1/2 inch ratchet, and you're good to go. Still spins freely, and we are in business. So now, spins like it should. Yay. This hub, there's something wrong with this hub. I'm not exactly sure what it is. It is working, but it's not working the greatest. I have a video on putting on the 1-inch wheel spacer and everything else that I'm going to be doing from here on out. I just wanted to share with you the process I went through to diagnose and try and figure out what was broken on my Jeep, because There was multiple things wrong with it, and I just really didn't want to buy all new everything and just replace everything hoping it fixes it, because like you guys, I don't have unlimited amount of money to just buy new parts for everything every time something breaks. So I want to replace only what's broken if I can, and that's what I tried to do here. And turned out in this case it was my hub that was causing all the run out and causing it to not be able to spin at all. So there is a little bit of an issue with this hub and how it's interacting inside here. Hopefully that will smooth out a little bit, because with this new hub assembly, as it kind of wears in a little bit, maybe it'll become freer. I'm not really sure. Wishful thinking, probably. Now that I have all of this back together, I've driven it a little bit, and this hub is freed up a little bit. It's operating a little bit smoother than it was before. Maybe just needs to wear into this new hub a little bit because the way the hub is cut. I'm not really sure, but it's working, and that's all I really care about. So thanks guys for watching this video. Hope you guys learned a little bit. Show you basically just how I kind of work through problems here in my garage and fix them. Now that I have this done, I can move on to fun things like building new control arms. I took advantage of Barnes 4-wheel drive 15% off sale. I bought myself a pile of Heim joints, and I got some DOM tube here, and I'm going to build myself some rear upper control arms to replace my adjustable Rubicon Express ones that are just absolutely destroyed. The bushing is just blown out the side like almost every trip now. And also I'm going to make a new front track bar with relocating it on the top of the frame instead of under the frame to try and get my angles and my steering a lot better. Also going to be working on hydro assist for this thing. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like the videos, leave some comments, subscribe to our channel, and we will see you next time.